In February 2025, I published an expose about this guy named Elliot Temple. He runs a toxic forum online. He's the leader of that group. And he has been defaming me for years in various ways. But there's one particularly egregious lie that I want to get into in this video that I've written about in this article. Now, as I write here, one of the problems with defamation is that you, as the victim of defamation, if you want to set the record straight, by doing so, by the very act of talking about it more, you just draw more attention to the false accusation. Unfortunately, this is no different. And Harris has written about this too. Like, it's an unfortunate consequence of dealing with defamation. But in this case, it reflects so poorly on Elliot Temple's character and exposes him as such a huge liar that it's worth talking about it for me. So in this video, I'm going to reveal and expose his pernicious lie about me. So you're going to want to stick around for that. So Elliot, since 2020, Elliot has been accusing me of hacking his website with what's called a denial of service attack. The short way to phrase it is a DOS or DOS. And for context, in the beginning of spring 2020, he contacted me very aggressively, accusing me of plagiarizing on my book. I disagree with that complaint. I go a lot into I address all of that in an extra article. Basically, I don't think he actually believes that I plagiarized him. I think he's lying. But in any case, he says that he emailed me privately, that he contacted me privately, indicating that there was a problem with my book that I had just published at the time. And then I said, okay, just tell me what you want me to change. And instead of just telling me that, he sent me a draft of a very nasty blog post about me where he was going to, expose me as this plagiarist. And he threatened to publish it if I didn't meet his demands. And then later he lied, claiming that I basically requested my own punishment by requesting this blog post, but that's not true. I never requested a blog post. I just wanted him to tell me what he wanted me to change. And then he was surprised when he sent those threats and, sent his coercive communication when he was surprised why I didn't exactly cooperate. Although I did later address his complaints, even though I disagreed that it was plagiarism. But that's just for context. He contacted me with a complaint and a threat to publish his complaint about me and a blog post about me. Okay, and then he did publish his blog post. And what he claims here, this is part of the blog post, he added that his website where he published the blog post was DOSed. So a DOS is when a hacker or an attacker, some people disagree whether a DOS is a hack or not, but because some people reserve it as like a term of art. But a DOS, a denial of service attack, is when an attacker sends so many requests to a website that the website can't deal with it and shuts down. It just gets completely overwhelmed. And one of the reasons somebody might do this is that they want to hide something on that website. Okay, DOSing a website is a crime. So Elliot is right that whoever did that is a criminal. Okay. Now, what Elliot alleges here is that his website got DOSed shortly after I saw the draft of the blog post, shortly after he emailed me that draft, but before he posted it. Okay, this is very important. Then he says for security reasons, he can't provide any technical details. I thought this was very convenient at the time. Like he could have at least produced some evidence that this DOS happened. I still think to this day that it wouldn't have made any sense for me to do this anyway, because even if one were to take a set down, like he would just repair it and then publish it somewhere else later. It just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so that's the context. I did not do this. I have no connection to that. I have no interest in ever DOSing Elliot's website. And here he says, quote, I initially contacted Dennis about the plagiarism privately. This part is very important. Then my website went down due to a DDoS attack. So then all of a sudden it's a DDoS attack. It kind of switches this. He changes his story there a bit. The DDoS is a distributed denial of service. The DDoS is when you get a bunch of different machines to make those overwhelming amounts of requests to a website. DDoS attacks are more sophisticated. They're harder to set up, is my understanding, but they're also harder to guard against because you can't just say, okay, just don't acknowledge requests from this one source. There's a bunch of different sources that are attacking a website. Okay. So he alleges that he contacted me privately. Okay. In which case, only I or somebody I told could have been the DOSer, right? That's what he's implying here. Actually, I think he says it. Yeah, he says it here. Whoever did that is at the timing of the DOS seems unlikely to be a coincidence. The DOS was presumably done by Dennis or somebody he told about his plagiarism. Okay. Right. So he's saying so, and then he goes into detail. He says, quote, this blog post was put up around 11:15 a.m. Pacific time on April 3rd, 2020. The DOS began at around 9:30 a.m., around 45 hours after Dennis Axtell received a draft version of this blog post. Okay. And then he repeats these accusations a bunch of times over the coming months and years. So like here he's saying it's likely the same person. Later he said that there was another DOS or DDoS. I don't know which one it was this time. He's saying it's likely the same person, Dennis or one of his associates, that Dennis is sheltering by withholding information. I have no information. The reason you don't want to talk to somebody like Temple is that he has a history of using your words against you, but he also uses your silence against you. So there's really no winning with that guy. But he shouldn't be surprised. I write all this in the article. Like, he shouldn't be surprised if you don't talk to him because he uses your words against you. Like that's his own responsibility. There's nobody to blame for that but himself. Okay, let's see. And he just repeats these claims. So like over the years, 2021, March, 2 claims. May, Hackstall was involved in DDoS, even though I wasn't. I only blocked by Hackstall due to his role in the DDoSing of this website. I had no role in that. Right, and then here he repeats this lie that I requested the blog post. I never requested a blog post. But by doing that, he can pawn off the responsibility to me. He can say, well, you wanted this. You wanted me to write a blog post, but I didn't. I just asked him what he wanted me to change. So now suddenly it's a DDoS again. The DDoS of my website started when I sent Dennis Axtell a draft with the above blog post at his request. Again, that's a lie. But before I posted it, he is either the DDoSer. Okay, I mean, this is like, he's not being coy. He's like, he comes right up with it. Dennis is either the DDoSer or he's an accomplice who's hiding information about who the DDoSer is by refusing to share information about who he shared my draft with. DDoSing is a serious crime. At least this part is not a lie. That is a serious crime. But it also means that this is a very serious accusation to make. Okay, and then even 3 years later, he still says Dennis Axtell is connected to the DDoSing. No, I wasn't. I had absolutely no connection to that. Okay. So recall that Temple claims there was a 45-hour window between his sharing his draft with me and the alleged denial of service attack. And he suggests that I gave someone advanced pre-release information about the blog post, thus giving them motive. Okay. And he also repeatedly claims that he contacted me privately, in which case only I or people I told could have known about this issue. Okay. And so only I or people I told could have had motive or given the alleged hacker motive. Right. That's his claim. If this DOS thing sounds complicated, just picture this instead. Let's like imagine a murder case. Okay. Say somebody, the murder hasn't happened yet, but say somebody, and to be clear, Elliot has never accused me or anyone, as far as I know, of anything like this. This is just a metaphor to explain the logic of the situation. It's just an analogy. Okay. Say somebody tells you that a girl, let's call her Anna. I'm completely making this up. They tell you that Anna is going to be at the bus stop by your house later tonight. Okay. And they also tell you that she plans to publish something nasty about you tomorrow. I know she found some dirt on you. She found the skeletons in your closet. She's going to reveal that the next day. Okay. And then the next day, Anna is found dead. Okay. And now that same person who told you that she was going to be at the bus stop where she was found dead, now publishes a blog post about you saying that they only told you that she was going to be at the bus stop and only you could have known, or somebody you told. And they also say, well, you had motive, right? Because she was going to publish that blog post about you tomorrow, exposing you as something. And so you had motive, or somebody you told had motive. Okay. And they allege that they told you privately. Okay. Now, private, I actually looked up the definition of the word private for this blog post. Where is it? Private means, these are various definitions, secluded from the sight of others, designed or intended for one's exclusive use, of or confined to the individual, personal, not available for public participation, not for public knowledge or disclosure, secret, not in public, secretly or confidentially, okay, and so on. Kept or removed from public view, not known, not open, not accessible to people in general. Okay, that's what private means. Okay, so in that sense, imagine you're on the receiving end of this accusation, right? Somebody accuses you of murdering a girl at the bus stop, and they tell you that only you knew that she was going to be at the bus stop. You might have serious trouble defending yourself against this accusation, right? What would you do? I don't know. It's difficult. Here's the big problem with Elliot's claims. That was not private. He did not. He did not tell me about that blog post privately. That's a lie. So let's find it here. I have so he has a public Discord server. Well, he used to. I don't think he has it anymore. He used to have a public Discord server at the time he did. Okay, years later, I found out that he was discussing my book and his complaints with his followers in his Discord server. So it starts on April 1st. That's when I think that's the same day he contacted me about it, or maybe the day after, something like that. Is around that time. Anyone want to discuss Dennis's massive plagiarism of David Deutsch and I? It should be an E, but whatever. In his new book. Okay. And he says, would you guys message him and ask him if he saw plagiarism allegations? So this is encouraging dogpiling. It's a form of online harassment. Okay. So he's already telling people here that he had a complaint. All right. And he monitors my Twitter activity to see how fast they should expect a response from me. He also uses it to recruit people to his forum away from the forum that I was active in. And shockingly, he announces his blog post on April 1st. Recall that his website got hacked on April 3rd. Okay, so 2 days before that, he announces in a public chat room that he was going to publish a blog post about this issue. And then other people, and by the way, this was before he even told me about it. He told people publicly that he was going to blog about me before he even sent me the draft. So that makes it even worse. It's wild. And then he said, and then other people acknowledge this, right? They acknowledge that he plans to publish a blog post. And then he says it's 4,500 words long. Okay, another person acknowledges it, calls it epic. Okay, and another person acknowledges it. So plenty of people acknowledge it. And I found out from a video Ellie recorded about this that there were over 100 people. Double check that. Yeah, there were over 100 people in that server at the time. So not exactly private. Okay. So he himself announced publication of his blog post about me repeatedly and publicly within that same 45-hour window. He even tells people what website he's going to post it on. This is his website, his personal blog, and when he's going to post it. Okay. So anybody could have seen that. Like he painted this picture that only I could possibly have known about this blog post. And that's just not true. Right? This is a giant lie by omission. This is extremely irresponsible reporting on his part. And last I checked a few days ago, he still has not updated his blog posts about me or retracted the lie in any way. If you're wondering what kind of punishment such an allegation invites, somebody commented on my post saying, but DDoS is a federal crime, so this is a very serious accusation. So they quote a law firm, Rawson Law Firm, quote, regardless of the circumstances, federal authorities may prosecute DDoS attacks under 18 U.S. Code as a form of, quote, fraud and related activity in connection with computers, quote. And that same page also says, quote, under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, committing a DDoS attack is considered a federal criminal offense. And also being accused of a DDoS attack is a serious matter that could lead you to facing prosecution in federal court. Failing to thoroughly understand and proactively enforce your rights when handling these allegations could leave you facing a long prison sentence and hefty fines. Right? People are falsely convicted all the time. Like, basically, this is the kind of punishment that Elliot is inviting, Elliot Temple. If you're wondering just how harmful those accusations are, that's what he's inviting. It's also particularly dangerous for me because I'm a software engineer. As a software engineer, and I've worked in cybersecurity. Maybe I want to work in cybersecurity again one day. If you have these allegations, like this is something that future employers might ask about, future clients might ask about. In fact, previous clients have asked me about it. And it was harder for me to defend myself against these false accusations because I didn't know at the time when they asked me about it that Elliot had lied about the privacy aspect. Right? And that lie proves that his accusations was completely arbitrary, and what a dishonest person he is in reporting this matter. He had exonerating evidence and just conveniently left it out. Absolutely irresponsible and reprehensible. The same that Rawson Law Firm says, quote, anyone found to have caused harm to a computer or server by transmitting a program, information, code, or command without authorization may be subject upon conviction to 10 years maximum in prison and a $500,000 maximum fine. Conspiracy to commit a DDoS attack could carry a maximum sentence of 5 years imprisonment and a $250,000 fine. Okay. Yeah, and then another issue is that like these are very different claims. Like, was it a DOS or a DDoS? Was it distributed or not? Because those carry very different prison sentences and fines. But Temple just switches back and forth between them. Like I said, these are very serious allegations. Temple should be ashamed of himself for ruining my good name like that, or trying to. I can only speculate as to the motive here, but I included this Ayn Rand quote. One of the, and this is one of the great things about Ayn Rand is that she actually encourages or inspires you to pursue justice and pursue your values in the world. He has this great quote that goes, philosophers have spent a prodigious effort to teach you to assume an unearned guilt. Once you assume it, you pronounce your mind incompetent to judge, you renounce morality, integrity, and thought, and you condemn yourself to the gray fog of the approximate, the uncertain, the uninspiring, the flameless, through which most men drag their lives, which is the purpose of that trap. The acceptance of unearned guilt is a major cause of philosophical passivity. So, not knowing about the privacy lie in particular, I mean, the whole thing's a lie, but the accusing me is not true. But the privacy lie in particular, because I didn't know that, it was so much harder for me to defend myself, and he must have fully counted on that, right? Like the Discord server was public, but he knows that he's such a toxic person, and I go into this in other videos, and quotes from other people, and even quotes from himself, where he knows that he has a crippling psychological effect on people. It can be hard to understand this if you haven't interacted with him, but um, I was active in his group for a few months, and I ran screaming because it was absolutely toxic. And once you've gone through that experience, you want absolutely nothing to do with that guy, and you want, at least that was my experience. I wanted nothing to do with that guy, and many other people's too. And I couldn't really I couldn't deal with him effectively psychologically. Um, so even the thought of reading things in a chat room that he might have written about me were caused just revulsion. And so, you might say, "Oh, but that chat was public." Yeah, it was public, but it was obscure enough for me never to see it, and he could rely on the crippling effect that he has on people psychologically, um, for him to be able to rely on me never wanting to read it, even if I had known that it was. I think I did know it was public. I just never knew that they discussed this because I wasn't able to look it up. I also just didn't. I actually believed him. I actually believed the part about him contacting me privately, um, which made it worse. It made it worse for me. It made it harder for me to defend myself because I was like, wow, if you really contacted me privately, how did that happen? Like I was genuinely, was genuinely stunned. Um, anyway, what has been Elliot's response? Well, I had to hire lawyers well, first I reached out to him directly and told him that I didn't do this. It took me about 4 years to recover enough mentally from my previous association with him that I was able to reach out to him and see if we could, bury the hatchet, smooth things over, and let bygones be bygones. And I told him that I did not do this. But apparently that didn't convince him. And he's, by the way, at that time, I didn't know yet about the privacy lie. And he never corrected me. He was never like, I should have mentioned that you were not the only person who knew about the blog post. I actually made that public well in advance. So anybody could be the DOS, right? If he was a conscientious communicator, and if he had actually been interested in reconciling, he would have proactively mentioned that. Um, he did not mention that, which gave him an unearned advantage in our communication, in our correspondence. And he obviously was not impressed. He didn't take anything down at the time. So then I contacted lawyers. They sent him a cease and desist. They told him that I did not do this. Again, as of a few days ago, he still hasn't taken down the DOS claims, as far as I'm aware. And in fact, his response is he's trying to word lawyer his way out of it, as I predicted in my article. So he's basically now saying, "Oh no, your Dennis sucks at word comprehension." So he's just condescending to me. And he has not acknowledged that I'm aware of. He has not acknowledged the privacy lie, even though I've called him out on it. And the other tactic that he uses is to deal with this is to, rather than not lie in the first place and make arbitrary claims in the first place, he expects others to prove him false. And this has the effect of this can have a disarming effect, because on the receiving end, you might go, "Oh, he would rectify it if only I showed him that he was wrong, and it's me failing to show him that he's wrong. So therefore, it's really on me. But this is false. It's not true. It's on him not to lie in the first place. It's on him not to make arbitrary claims in the first place." But it can also have the effect to third parties who are not, familiar with all the details in the context. To them, he looks totally reasonable. them, that they will say, well, he's open to being corrected. He's telling you, if you just prove him wrong, then he'll change it, he'll retract it or update it or whatever. And but as I said, it's his responsibility not to lie in the first place. um but he keeps doing this thing where he evades responsibility by putting the onus on other people. In any case, that was the lie that I wanted to expose Elliot Temple for. And I recommend this, actually only one of several defamations, so I recommend you read the entire article if you want to learn more.